Okay, so let's get right into this. We're starting a little bit early because I want to make sure that we get all this stuff done before I go work at the homeless office, as you know, on Wednesday tomorrow. So, with that said, if you guys are trying to call the law firm tomorrow, just keep in mind I'll be working with the homeless. You want to catch up with me Thursday or Friday, but Thursday is stacked full of private hours and also hearings. So, let's get right into this. This is an interesting situation, which is going to mirror, in effect, going into the future. Now, what happened here is that we were in the same exact sort of situation back in the 1980s. And we will be in the exact same sort of situation right around 2030, 2031. So just keep in mind, this exact thing is going to happen to us again, which is why we need to be aware of it and watch and be careful with what politicians we put in office. Because the ones that were in office back in the 1980s did not do us any favors, including the one that's currently in the White House. Unfortunately, he was not a good advocate for Social Security benefits back then. So here's the deal, okay? 50% of those, and this is an article, on Social Security face losses averaging over $3,000 because of this problematic rule. This is a article by Christy Biber of the Monthly Fool. It was produced on April 28th, 6:07 a.m. Here's the deal. Social Security retirement benefits provide much needed income to millions of seniors who rely on this money to help cover their essential costs. Unfortunately, many seniors are losing thousands of dollars worth of these benefits every year as a result of a problematic rule. Here's what the issue is, and some details about why a growing number of Social Security recipients get to keep less of their benefits each year. So just understand the topic of this video is the Social Security double tax. Some of you do not realize, I'm just going to get it out there right up front, that when you go ahead and pay your FICA taxes, right, your 12.4 plus extra for Medicare ends up a little over 15. When you pay your FICA taxes, okay, that is not you paying money in to get a benefit down the line that you have a right to. You don't. There's no like Billy Dale account with his name on it from the money you paid in. So when you get older people who heard the promises and believed in like the promised land and things like that, and they're like, oh, somewhere out there in the magical abyss, there's an account in the government with my name on it. No, there's not. There's no miniature account with all the money you put into it. There's not. Each generation pays for the next generation. It's a Ponzi, whatever you want to call it. Some people get offended when you say Ponzi scheme, but it's a Ponzi program. That's what it is. Okay. So the bottom line is that you pay all this money in. How was this program created? It was created under the tax allowance of the Constitution. The Constitution allows the government to royally tax the American people. And I mean royally tax them. Now, when you go ahead and pay these FICA taxes, right, you are putting money into a system. Many of you will never get the full benefit out of it, right? The amount of money you put in, you're not going to get your true worth out of it. Sure, if you like made the worst investment choices in your life and ruined your life over that, then yeah, maybe you'd get a fair share out of it. But the reality is these special bonds that they convert the money you pay into, they're very bad at giving you enough, right? Don't even think about giving you more, giving you enough. So here's the thing. 1983, things were bad. Things were super epic bad, right? Trust fund problems, retirement benefit problem, the whole thing all the way around again, just like we're going to have in 2030, 2031, right? Okay, cool. A 1983 change to Social Security has consequences to this day. There's a simple reason so many seniors are losing a ton of their Social Security benefits. It's because of specific laws that Congress passed in the 1980s and the 1990s. See, when the Social Security was created, right, the general program, benefits were not taxed on the federal level. Seniors could get their money and keep all of it without giving a cut to the IRS. That changed when the program was amended in 1983, though at that time, up to 50% of the benefits became taxable as a result of a rule change designed to shore up Social Security's financial future. Sound familiar? You better bet it does. It sounds very familiar. This is the exact dilemma we're going to be in when we get to basically 2030. And the politicians, using their sleight of hand, are going to do the exact same thing to you that they already did to you back in the 1980s. Okay? Let me read it to you again. These retirement benefits were never taxable until 1983, when they became taxable as a result of a rule change designed to shore up Social Security's financial future. So you get taxed every time you earn money. And then when you go to have that money paid to you, if you earn over a certain amount, they tax those benefits away from you. Hence, the double tax owns you. Okay. Then in 1993, Congress took action again, this time taxing up to 85% of the benefits for some retirees that earn over that higher amount. Okay. And it's a very, very low amount. They don't keep raising it, they keep it low because they want to get that money. When the 1983 rule was put in place, fewer than 10% of people receiving retirement benefits ended up paying taxes on them. The tax was meant to hit the wealthy, not the average everyday retiree living on a fixed income. But the problem was that the amount you could earn before you found yourself paying taxes wasn't indexed to inflation. Shit, sounds familiar to all this other stuff we are supposed to get to increase with inflation based on the cost of living adjustment. But they never got around to indexing it, right? They never rolled into making that happen. They never you know what? We love the American people. We're going to make sure they get what they're supposed to. They never did that. They did the opposite. They said, you know what we're going to do? You know what we're going to do? We're going to tax them. Even though we already taxed them, we're going to tax them again at 50% of their benefits. And if they earn over this amount, we're going to get them one more time at 85% of the retirement benefits. That's what they did. All right. In 1983, your benefits became partly taxable once your provisional income hit $25,000 as a single filer. So if you made $25K, they're going to tax 50% of your retirement. Or $32,000 as a joint filer. Provisional income is half of Social Security benefits plus some non-taxable income and all taxable income. Now, in 2024, benefits became taxable at the exact same dollar amount. This is despite the fact that buying power of $25,000 or $32,000 has declined dramatically since the 1980s. Remember, 25K and 32K back in the 1980s was put there as a punishment for the rich to pay their fair share. All right, remember that? Those rich, they better pay their fair share. It's just like what's being promoted by Biden right now. I mean, I can go after Trump too. He doesn't even have a plan. But the point is, Biden's like, you know what we need to do? We need to tax those rich earning about $400,000 of income. And obviously they have investment income, but they also have regular income, a lot of income. And he's like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to tax them. We're going to tax them over that $400,000. You know what we're going to do? We're going to punish those rich and make them pay their fair share, just like they did in 1983. But the problem is, when you make the rich pay more, whatever that percentage is, they just pass it along because they own all the businesses that we buy from. So all you're doing is screwing over the middle class and the poor. That's all you're doing. That's how it works. So the bottom line here with this whole situation is that I'll read it to you again, despite the fact that buying power of 25,000, 32,000 has declined dramatically since the 1980s, they're no longer punishing the rich. They're punishing the middle income. They're punishing the poor. Now, some of you are thinking, damn, if we increase FICA taxes above $400,000, ain't nobody going to hit $400,000 anytime soon. You would be wrong. If we keep going by this ridiculous inflation rate, and it keeps happening, it keeps getting worse and worse and worse, it's talking about decades, like 2 decades. 2 decades to get to the point where people are literally earning in the $400,000 level with your regular $100,000 jobs. You know what's funny too? A lot of disabled have like a backlog effect with their brain when it comes to earning capacity. Like a lot of disabled are like, did you hear that Jenny's earning $100,000? And $100,000 isn't shit anymore. Like the people without a college degree are getting jobs in the warehouse sector and the tech sector for literally over $100,000, and they don't even have a college degree. So just to understand, which is why I sit back and I'm like, what the hell am I doing with my life? But you got to understand, at the end of the day, $100,000 ain't shit anymore. So when you look at $400,000 being like this, it's just out there. It's this massive amount. It's just out there, right? It's this massive amount of money. It's not. We will be there in 2 decades no matter what. We will. All right, when the 1983 rule was put into place, fewer than 10% of the people receiving retirement benefits ended up paying tax on them. The tax was meant to hit the wealthy, yada, yada. Okay. Now, it should be obvious that the rules related to taxing Social Security benefits are a problem for seniors. They're old and they're unhappy. That's where we're at with it. But to understand just how big of a problem they are, it's helpful to look at the data as to how much they're actually paying. So here we go. While under 10% of retirees were originally hit with an IRS bill, the Senior Citizens League, awesome group, does a great job, a senior advocacy group, reports that around half now, 50%, okay, have to pay taxes on their benefits. As many as 56% will owe in the coming years. And let me tell you why. This is why all the retired people have to go ahead and pay all these taxes at a ridiculous rate. Why it's reached now 50, potential 6% of the retired population. It's because the retirement benefits that they paid in aren't worth what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be getting significantly more money. They are supposed to be making significantly more money coming out of their benefits, right? They shouldn't be getting this small itty bitty amount. They're supposed to be getting significantly more. So the problem that we run into is that Americans don't have a legal right to their benefits because they were just a tax. And then on top of that, we're taxing these retired people again because they're earning over 25K to be able to supplement their existence because the retirement benefits aren't enough and they're trying to live in the house that they paid for their entire life, but now they cannot afford because of bad policy. That's it. I mean, I just summarize it like that. Okay. I understand this video is hitting a little heavy on Biden, but to be fair, if Biden wanted to actually ravel up the Social Security voters, if he wanted to get everybody bundled and voting towards him, it's easy. Get rid of retirement taxes. Just get rid of them. Get rid of people being taxed when it comes to retirement benefits. Number two, give people an actual legal right to their benefits. If the government tries to change them, let the attorneys sue the government in a class action to make sure the government has to pay us for what we paid in. Number three, stop screwing over the SSI people. I get it. They haven't paid in like the other people have. Well, some of them have, but they just waited too long to file. I get it. I get that there's the whole immigrant situation, refugee asylums. I get it. But stop screwing them over. They can't afford to live anymore on that small amount. They can't exist. And the cost of living adjustment math is so false. It's so wrong. It's so dirty that people are just, they can't exist, right? People are like, well, I have to move specifically from California to Louisiana. Now, look, I get it. A Californian moving from California to Louisiana, that's a big, scary thought. I get it. But I know, right? INFJ, Tyrone, I'm waiting for this whole video to just go flat off. Because what I'm saying right now is just it's not politically acceptable or correct in any way. So I'm waiting for this whole video to go buffering like the last one did. I'm certain that this video is going to get me kicked off. All right, bottom line is let's keep reading before I get myself in more trouble. These tax bills are not small either. With the average tax paid in 2020, okay, so that was 4-ish years ago, coming in at $3,211. They're losing $3,211 in 2020. That was before the worst inflation occurred. That was before it got really bad. Since Social Security benefits have increased each year since 2020, inflation has surged. Those bills are even bigger now for retirees. This means the typical senior retiree is losing over $3,000 per year of their Social Security benefits to the IRS simply because when taxes on benefits were put in place in the 1980s and 1990s, Congress didn't make sure they were automatic adjustments to the income level at which they applied. So the bottom line is the income level shouldn't be at 25K, right? It shouldn't be at 50K. It shouldn't be at 100K. It should be at 300K that this whole taxation comes into place. Or they could just get rid of the taxation because double taxation is unconstitutional. Although, to be fair, in this country, I mean, how many times is a piece of bread taxed? I mean, what 25, 50, 75? I don't even know at this point. I don't even know. They find new ways to tax things. Don't forget the road tax. Don't forget the road tax that they're putting in. Don't forget the AI tax. Don't forget the blue lane tax. I don't even know how many times you get taxed with that. All right, so that oversight happened despite the fact that most other key Social Security numbers are adjusted due to inflation. Yeah, it happened because Congress realized, hey, wait a minute. We can tax all these retired people who are getting all this money, who don't go to Disney World and spend it on vacations and just sit in their house. We can take extra moolah from them and we can then fluff in our political pillows with it. Yeah, that's what happened. Sadly, the situation is only to get worse. Congress is unlikely to take steps to increase the income limits all these years later. when Social Security's financial future still remains shaky. Now, for future retirees, the best option may be to invest in Roth IRAs. I totally disagree, as distributions from it don't count when determining if benefits should be taxed. For those already in or near retirement, though, it will be crucial to plan for big IRS bills, as it may already be too late to avoid them. Honestly, guys, you want my opinion as to what you should do? You should find a rental home that's already done. Buy it, rent that sucker. That's my advice. Rental homes, they just keep increasing in price. They pay for themselves. They increase your capacity to get, a loan if you need it. If you're really in bad shape, you can sell it for even way more money than you originally bought it for. You get hit with capital gains, but it's better than this Roth IRA stuff. You're gonna see a much larger increase in your capacity, and that's honestly how most people get wealthy. It's through property real estate or property real estate investing. Basically buying properties, selling them, buying properties, renting them, etc. That's how most people get into a good spot and escape the matrix. I know some people will argue that they like sitting in the matrix because that just seems to be the popular thing right now. They're like, I like renting my house because, at the end of the day, it feels good to my tummy. Don't ever believe any of that BS. That is horrifically terrible. If you ever get a big chunk of back pay, if you ever get a big chunk of inheritance, you go buy that house and you rent out rooms in it. You do that and you will be okay. All right. So here's the deal. The $22,924 Social Security bonus. All right. So this is basically more fluff from the article. All right. So in summary, what you need to learn from this video is that retirees are waking up. They are getting ready to go ahead and push for bills that will get rid of, on the federal level, all taxation of retirement benefits. And then, of course, states that were trying to tax retirement benefits, stuff like that, they're working on those as well. And states keep dropping those. But the bottom line is, expect all of the old people to get together. Because remember, there's like 68-ish, 70-ish million retirees right out there that are basically capable of voting in a particular direction to change something. Now, with that said, and I think it's absolutely crucial, I think it's very, very important, the future of this whole situation is going to rely on a couple of things. The main thing is basically getting people to understand, first and foremost, that the retirement benefits are not going to carry them into the future. When we hit 2030, we're going to be in the exact same situation that we were in the 80s, where they created all these things to go ahead and, to be very direct with it, they created these new taxation methods to try and shore up a system that should have been fixed in a different way. Now, with that said, and I want this to be very, very clear. I want this to be very, very direct. Okay. When people, believe that they can fix this, the only way you can actually fix this is by getting politicians at the federal level, on the, at the Senate, at the House, etc., to put through a bill to get rid of it. Now, I want to know from you guys, my side, my opinion on this. I don't feel like when people take my future Social Security funds away, that it's fair. Do you feel that it's fair and that they have properly used those tax dollars, right, that they've taxed away from retired people who are elderly, who can't really work that well anymore, but they got to work a little bit because they can't afford anything with their retirement? Do you feel that working class elderly people should be further taxed by the federal government? I don't know. To me, that seems it seems bad. And remember, a lot of this falls into the category of, if they just tax us more, they can fix homelessness. If they just tax us more, they can fix, COVID. If they just tax us more, they can fix our CO2 emissions. If they just tax us more, they can fix global warming. If they just tax us more, right? If they just tax us more, they can make our schools more safe by having nobody there with the capacity to stop a danger. If they just tax us a little bit more, they'll have just what they need to fix the program and get everything rolling in the right direction. To me, I don't know. It's absolute insanity. I mean, think about it. Like, if you boil this whole thing down to what it really is, a government entity, through a taxation clause of the Constitution, promised Americans a future they can rely on that they have no legal right to. And they didn't go ahead and protect the way the cost of living adjustment was calculated. So now it's like people are getting less than $500 less per month than they're supposed to. And they're taxing them on top of that if they have to work when they're elderly. I know some of you are thinking, well, the rich, they're having money coming in and some of it's investment, some of it's regular income and yada, yada, yada. I get it, but we're not there anymore. Where we're at right now, just to understand, okay, is that elderly people in their 70s are having to go back to work and then paying taxes on their retirement benefits. Right? Just let that sink in for a minute. Let that percolate a little. All right. So, anyways, I will catch you guys at the next video. I'm just going to go live and answer questions. We're only going to be doing it for, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes tops. I have to go to the homeless office tomorrow. Please remember, if you want to catch me tomorrow at the office with phone calls, don't call tomorrow, call Thursday. On Thursday, I have a bunch of hearings, a couple of those private sessions. So bottom line is Friday might be your day. Okay. I will catch you a little bit later. Please remember at these live sessions that we do directly after this, you get 5 to 7 minutes of free answers from me. You call the 407-279 phone number. You do use a fake name throughout the process. No story mode, legal question right up front. Please remember to like and subscribe and go to Google, type in Disability Resolution Law Firm or Disability Resolution PA. Go ahead and type that in if you want and leave some 5-star reviews or any reviews that you like. Now, I will catch you a little bit later. You have a wonderful, wonderful night, and I will see you in about 5 minutes. Thanks so much. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.